Now, suppose we were told that the diameter of that circle, that I've just, so this, if suppose this diameter was 8 4/10 centimeters, and I wanted to find the radius. Okay, so what I'm saying is the distance all the way across here is 8.4. And I want to find just the radius. The radius would just be this distance. Well, the radius is 1/2 of my diameter, so I could multiply my diameter by our half, or the easier thing to do would just be to take it and divide it by 2. And that's what I'm going to do. If we take the 8.4 and divide it by 2, bring my decimal straight up. 2 goes into 8 4 times, and 2 goes into 4 2 times. So my length of my radius would be 4.2 centimeters if my diameter was 8.4 centimeters. So if the distance all the way across the circle to the center was 8 4/10 centimeters, then the distance halfway across would be 4 2/10 centimeters. Now, since we understand the idea of radius and diameter and what a circle actually is, we want to talk about the perimeter of a circle. Well, if you remember, the perimeter of a figure like a rectangle or a triangle or a trapezoid is just the distance around the outside of a figure. Well, that's what the perimeter of a circle is. It's the distance all the way around the outside. But for the circle, the perimeter has a special name. It's called the circumference. So if you want to find the distance around a circle, you'll be told to find the circumference of the circle. Now, the way we could actually find it would be a little bit, if we wanted to measure it, it'd be a little bit tougher than measuring the sides of a polygon, like a quadrilateral, and adding up the measurements of all the sides, because we don't have segments here. We have this curve. One thing you could do is take a piece of string and wrap it around the circle, and then unwrap the piece of string, lay it out straight on a ruler and measure it. You could get the circumference that way. What we're doing is we're just going to use formulas today to find these things. So we're not going to actually by hand find the circumference. We're just going to use the formulas. The formula that you use to find the perimeter of a circle is something a little bit different. It's C equals to pi d. The C is a circumference, the d is a diameter, and pi is a special number. The number pi is about 3.14. It ends up that if you can find the distance across your circle and multiply that distance across by the number 3.14, you'll get very, very close to the circumference of your circle. There's a special relationship between the diameter and the circumference of any circle, no matter how big it is. If you take the circumference and divide it by its diameter, you end up with this number every single time. Now, the number is not exactly 3.14. That's the rounded off version of pi. Sometimes we use 3 1/7 to represent pi if you're working with fractions. But that number always occurs. It always is in this formula. It's constant in the formula. If you multiply that number by the diameter of your circle, you'll get the distance around it. Now, as I said, I'm not going to really show you why today. We're just going to take that formula and use it. So let's see what the circumference of this particular circle would be. Let's measure, or let's draw in the diameter, and after I draw it in, that would be our diameter, I'm going to measure and see about what it is. Now, this ruler, I'm going to measure it on the centimeter side, and the 0 point of this ruler is right here. So if you'll look, it looks like it's just about exactly 3 centimeters. So I'm going to say my diameter is 3 centimeters. And I'm going to use the formula C equals pi times the diameter and let pi be this number, 3.14. So if I do that, C is equal to 3.14 times my diameter, which is 3. That would be my formula. Now what I need to do is multiply that out. So I'm going to come over here and do that. If I take 3.14 and multiply it by 3, 3 times 4 is 12. Carry your 1. 3 and 1 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. If you count your decimal places, you come up with 9. Wait a minute, I didn't carry here, did I? 4 times 3 is 12. Carry your 1. 3 and 1 is 4. And then, that's right, I don't have to carry. So it is 9.42. So that would be our circumference. 9.42 centimeters. And what that means is that if we could actually put a string around this and stretch the string out, we would end up with a little more than 9 centimeters. Now let's do another problem. I noticed this pi that I had written up here. As I said, pi is about 3.14. Let's make sure this was, I did not have the 1 written there, but the pi is about 3.14. Okay, let's do another problem. We want to keep our formula for circumference. Circumference is pi times the diameter. And our pi, we're going to use 3.14 to stand for it. Let's say we were getting ready to buy a pizza, and we knew that the radius of our pizza was 8 inches, and we wanted to find the circumference. The radius of the pizza is 8 inches, and we wanted to find the circumference of the pizza. So we're going to use the formula C equals to pi times the diameter. Now, when we start to substitute in, we know that our pi is 3.14. But what about our diameter? I told you what the radius was, but I didn't tell you what the diameter is. But if you remember, the radius is the distance halfway across. The diameter in the formula goes all the way across. So to go the rest of the way across, we'd have to double this 8. So what we do is multiply that 8 times 2 and get 16. And that's what would go in our formula. It would be 3.14 times the 16. So let's multiply 3.14 times 16 and see what we get. 24, carry our 2, 6 and 2 is 8. 6 times 3 is 18. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. That's 4. 8 and 4 is 12. Carry our 1. 1 and 8 is 9 and 1's 10. Carry our 1. 1 and 1's 2 and 3 is 5. And we have 2 decimal places. So it's 50 and 24 hundredths. And we were working with inches. So when you're finding circumference or you're finding the distance around the outside of a circle, it's just like finding the perimeter. Your answer has to have the unit you're working with on it, because it is the perimeter of the circle. So make sure you put inches. Up here, when we were doing a circle whose diameter was 3 centimeters, we had to put centimeters on our answer. So you put the unit, it's a plain unit, when you're finding the circumference. Here it was 50 and 24 inches, 50.24 inches. So what we'd be saying is if we had a pizza that had a radius of 8 inches, and we took a piece of string or a tape measure and put it around the outside of the pizza, we'd have to use 50 inches on the tape measure to go all the way around the outside of the pizza, and to go a little bit farther. It's 50 inches and 24 hundredths of another inch.